Are you ready? It is my pleasure tonight, and I want the platform to stand. As I introduce on the eve of creating political history, the leader of the greatest political organization in the Western Hemisphere, Jamaica's greatest Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for West Central St. Andrew. What time is it, Labour right? What time is it, Labour right? Prime Minister, 1 term. Prime Minister, 2 terms. Prime Minister, 3 terms. Andrew Michael Holness.
Rise to the occasion, look at yourself and say you're strong. No one can stop you. Rise to the occasion, go ahead, you know you're strong. No one can stop you.
No weapon, just only a draw first. Niggas can't stop me now. Even when they said they're cops, niggas can't stop me now.
Spanish down! Tonight I'm not going to say show our labor rights. Tonight, I'm going to say blessings, love, and respect to all Jamaicans. This crowd couldn't be labor rights alone. No, sir. This crowd bigger than labor rights. I am going to make a comparison. And I would say that this crowd is larger than halfway tree. In fact, I would say that this crowd is halfway tree and Sam Sharp Square put together. So I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for coming out. It means a lot to me personally. Spanish Town is my hometown. This is where I was born, and this is where I spent my formative years. I went to Spanish Town Primary, sat in a class with over 40 kids. Then I went to St. Catherine High School. I became student council president. I became the head boy. I taught at St. Catherine High School. I met my wife here. I went to the Spanish Town SDA Church. Before that, I went to the Filippo Baptist Church. I grew up at 56 Cumberland Road. Then I moved to Central Avenue. Then I went to live in Ensom City in Riverside Park. This place means a lot to me. And therefore, when we were deciding where would we have our closing meeting, I said, all right, let it be somewhere that carries some meaning for me personally, and we agreed it would be Spanish Town. As supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party, and indeed all well-thinking Jamaicans, can reflect on our campaign and say that the Jamaica Labour Party probably ran the best political campaign in the history of Jamaica. Our campaign did not seek to tear anyone down. Our campaign did not rely on lies and rumors and falsehoods. Our campaign focused on the things that mattered to you, and we maintained our focus on that. Our campaign was edifying, uplifting, enriching. Our campaign demonstrated what we want for Jamaica. We want to uplift and build Jamaica. Our campaign had two distinct parts to it. The first part of our campaign was on achievements. We ran almost 8 weeks of campaign wholly and solely on what we achieved as a government. No other government of Jamaica was able to ever do that. This Jamaica Labour Party government is the first government of this country that could come to the population and lay out unchallenged achievements. If you notice, the PNP, the detractors and the critics could not contest any of the achievements we placed, the 200 and odd achievements we placed in our achievement books. That was not in contest. Nobody challenged that. So if it is that governments must be decided on merit and performance, if that were it, then the Jamaica Labour Party would have already won the elections, because we have placed in the public domain a resume of achievements that is unchallenged and uncontested. First in the history of the country. We are not saying that we are a perfect government. We are not saying that we achieved everything. But the difficult things that you thought unachievable, the difficult things that you considered as intractable, we took them on and we delivered results. In 2016, I stood at a meeting in St. James, just outside of where we now have the Zozo in Mount Salem. And I made a presentation. I said, I want Jamaicans to be able to sleep with their windows and doors open. And people ridiculed the statement. They ridiculed the statement. But I know what God has in store for this country. I don't set my hat where I can reach it. I'm always stretching, pushing the boundaries, because I have nothing else. I was never given an inheritance. My mother is here, she can testify to that. Everything that we have achieved in life is because we have worked hard, honestly, and earnestly for it, and we stretch for it. And it is the ambition to achieve peace in Jamaica why I made that statement, that ambitious statement that Jamaicans must have peace so we can sleep with our windows and doors open. And by God, we are going to achieve it in this country. We are going to achieve it. In 3 years, we have cut the murder rate by 55%. Some people thought it was never possible, but we did it. We did it using zones of special operations. Follow me. Follow me. Tell me one community in Jamaica that is now at war with another community. Tell me that. Just think about it. Tell me one. We use states of public emergency. We invested over $90 billion in the capital budget of the security forces of Jamaica. We improved investigation, improved intelligence, improved operations of our security forces. And so today, Jamaica is moving in the right direction towards peace. They felt that Jamaica would never ever reduce its debt. We cut the debt in half. They felt that we would always have high unemployment. Unemployment is now down to 3.3%. They felt that they will always have to be burdening the people with taxes. We presented 10 budgets with no net new taxes in this country. And I could go on and on and on with all the big problems that we have taken on, and we have shown the results. So if you listen to the public debate, nobody says that we are not a good government. Scour all the commentary. Nobody says that this is not a good government. It is not just that we have been able to deliver, but we are also a stable government. 9 years and no problems in our administration. Stable government. Every member of my cabinet, every member of the Jamaica Labour Party made a decision to work hard, do their best, and deliver for the people. And you may wonder why we chose the slogan, Choose Jamaica. 2 years ago or so, you would recall that there were protests and demonstrations at our consulate and embassy in the United States. There were persons who wanted to tear down the image and brand of Jamaica in order to tear down the government. There were persons whose sole ambition was to get power at any cost, including tearing down Jamaica. Some persons call me and they say, Prime Minister, we want to go there and demonstrate. Help us to get some shirts so we can put on our JLP shirts and go there. And I said to them, no, this is not a fight. We must not go there and embarrass our country and contribute to the falsehoods. No. And one of them said to me, all right, Prime Minister, I see what you're saying. You are choosing Jamaica. We don't tear down Jamaica in order to get the power in Jamaica. For the Jamaica Labour Party, our mathematics is that we must build up Jamaica and the people will give us the authority to continue to build up Jamaica. And that is why I choose Jamaica. And I ask all of you here, I ask all Jamaica, make the choice for Jamaica. Choose Jamaica. At the end of the day, it is not about me. It is not about the members of my political party. All of them have chosen Jamaica. At the end of the day, Jamaica is the boat in which we all sail. But some people are trying to puncture holes in the hull and then cry out that Jamaica is sinking, expecting that they are going to be the ones to rescue Jamaica when they were the ones and they are the ones who are constantly sinking Jamaica and running the ship of Jamaica aground. They ran aground in the 70s. They ran aground with FinSac, and when they came back in 2011 to 2015, they ran aground again. We must never allow them to take us off the course on which we are now. We must never allow them to change the direction in which we are heading, the direction of peace and prosperity for everyone. So, there's no question about our performance and the direction of the country. But elections are also about what is to come. What will the new term of the administration look like? And I will say this to you. When the rum tell a certain man he's a big dancer, he goes out and he makes certain promises that people who understand how an economy works knows that it doesn't make sense. I expect that he knows how an economy works. And I expect that as a responsible leader, he wouldn't put something forward that is going to wreck the economy. But he did. It tells me that he doesn't respect you. We have managed a finely tuned economy. We know what is possible to do within responsible fiscal limits and what is not possible. Raising the threshold to $3.5 million doesn't make sense. And if it is done, you will pay for it within a year. Worst of all, it benefits about 120,000 persons, but 1.4 million Jamaicans will lose as a result of it. Right now, we are repairing 660 roads in Jamaica with a budget over a couple of years of $45 billion. That proposal cost somewhere in the region of $75 billion. It means it's either he would cut that program and something else or go and borrow to do it. I know there are some Jamaicans who are selfishly looking out and say, I am going to benefit. You may benefit today, but you will pay for it tomorrow.
I'm sure Holness telling you use a big dancer. I'm sure you use a big dancer. And now you use a big dancer.
Now, the idea of a significant increase in the threshold was fathered by me. I heard Albin Hill telling the story, and I heard Marlon Morgan trying to sing the story. It's my picnic. This man a run come and try to take up the picnic. We already know it's the first man I see a run to take a jacket. Listen to me carefully, because I know there are some Jamaicans who are looking at it because they really don't understand it. Our proposal increases the threshold gradually. So you are going to get there without any cost to you or anyone else. But our proposal is a little bit more equitable as well. Because in our next term, if you are 65 years and older, earning $6 million or less, you will pay no income taxes. And I'm appealing now and speaking to our senior citizens and our elders who didn't benefit from 1.5, who didn't benefit from the subsequent increases. During COVID, they had a difficult time they had to stay in, and it has been really difficult for them. And if we are a fair society, isn't it fairer to give them the benefit? Yes, and that costs nowhere near what the Romed proposal is. If I were a senior citizen, I know where my vote would lie. And as we are on senior citizens and pension income, the Jamaica Labour Party has increased payments to public sector workers by over $200 billion over the last 4 years. That's the largest increase to the public sector wage bill ever. But you know what that does? Under the new compensation program, it also increases the pension benefits of the people who are working now. So as our workforce ages and retires, one of the legacies of this Jamaica Labour Party government is that we have given more Jamaicans better pensions than ever before in the history of Jamaica. So you can see that in our next term, we are building a fairer society, a more equitable society, and we are taking care of our seniors. In our next term, we will reduce the base income tax rate from 25 to 15, and we will introduce a more progressive system. So everybody will pay less taxes relatively. But I want to point out to you that this administration has cut poverty from 16% to 8%. Cut poverty. And largely that has happened because our administration has tripled. I want you to listen to that. We have almost tripled the minimum wage. And I've heard the cries of Jamaicans. I was campaigning in Central Kingston during the local government election in 2024. I'll never forget it. A young lady came up to me and she said, Prime Minister, why you increase the minimum wage? We had just increased the minimum wage the year before. And she said, Prime Minister, no, you have to increase the minimum wage again. And we went back and we looked at it. And at that point, we concluded, and I'm saying this tonight because of a very important announcement. Jamaica will move to a livable wage system. In the next term, Jamaica will move to a livable wage system, and we will do it in a way that will not affect business or affect the economy. We have looked at a path to doing it, and we have worked out how it will be done. The livable wage, simply, is what the average person needs to survive for rent, utilities, education, food, and emergencies. So, over the next few years, in our third term, we will double the minimum wage from $16,000, what we have carried it to now, having almost tripled it, to $32,000. In our first budget, the minimum wage will move from $16,000 to $18,500, and then gradually after that for the next few years. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. It is necessary to do this It is necessary to do this, and I want all Jamaicans to appreciate how our economy has changed. Yes, it's important for quality of life, but here's a big problem. At 3.3% unemployment, you are practically at full employment. People are not making a decision to leave what they are doing. Many of them are at home, many of them are at the street side, some of them are hustling. And so the incentive to work at that level is not strong enough. So by increasing the minimum wage gradually, you shift the incentive to work in favor of work. So you're going to get more Jamaicans voluntarily deciding to move out of the unemployment pool and into the labor pool. And that will give greater opportunity for growth in the economy. Listen to me carefully, people. In the last 9 years, we have spent the time building a finely tuned economic engine. Finely tuned, finely balanced. You can't make any big swing. Everything you do, you have to plan it out over a period of time. And that is how we have managed to keep everything stable without asking you to pay any more taxes. And in fact, we have given back taxes to you. We are now giving the solidarity program. We have given a lot of increases in the minimum wage. And now the big thing is that Jamaica will move towards a livable wage. That is what you can expect in the third term of the Jamaica Labour Party. We are the party that move poor people from poverty to prosperity. We love the poor, but we hate poverty. And I don't want anybody to argue this point, because listen, Barbados' minimum wage is about 33,600 Jamaican dollars. Trinidad is about $21,000. Ours is currently at 16. So we are a little bit behind in the region. We definitely have to step up. But this increase, I am sure, will also increase productivity of labor overall. And the increase in productivity of labor will generate growth in the economy. And that is what we want in our economy, growth. But we want the growth to be fair. We want the base of the society to benefit from the economic growth. We are, if you notice our policy is not focused on a small group of people, which is what the 3.5 does. 120,000 versus 1.4 million people. No. We do not believe in transferring wealth from the poor to the rich. The last transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich was FinSac. And the man who is seeking to represent this country now was the chief architect of the advice that created FinSac. And he benefited from FinSac. We are for the mass of the people, and we make policies to benefit the mass of the people. We did some polls. We did our polls a few weeks before we announced the elections. We polled 23 seats. We interviewed over 25,000 Jamaicans. 25,000, not like them little poll where you say them do 1,000 or 1,000 and then talk about margin of error. The margin of error on our poll is very small. You would remember when I went about, I said, I'm taking my time because I'm going to make the calling of the election sure. And we went about and we did our polls. Every man have a right to publish the poll and say whatever they want to say. But I don't believe in using polls to influence outcomes. Polls must influence policy, but not opinions. And so, if you notice, our campaign was laser focused on things that matter to you. our polls told us that the things that you are most concerned about were roads and water. That came up as the top two across those 23 constituencies. There were concerns about garbage collection. There were concerns about unemployment in some areas. There were concerns about housing. There were concerns about titling and land ownership. But the main concern for everyone, water and roads. In our next term, therefore, we will introduce the single road authority. It is not designed to take away roads from the parish council, but it is designed to set the standards at which our roads must be managed and maintained. For the first time, we will establish an engineered maintenance schedule for our roads, which we will back fiscally, meaning that we will place funds to match the engineered schedule for our roads. Therefore, as we build a road, we have a maintenance schedule for which there is a budget. So as soon as a crack appears, we will be able to patch and stabilize so that that crack does not become a pothole. We will build the road and engineer it right the first time so that we don't have to go again to the remedial work. Jamaica will have a modern system to manage its roads, which will mean that the prosperity you feel when you drive on the highway, when you come off the highway, that prosperity will take you to your doorstep. That carpet will come to your doorstep. So I say to all Jamaicans, especially in the rural areas, as I have traveled on your roads and I have seen them, and you come out and say, I love your Prime Minister, but my road, you say my road. Yes, my dear, I see your road, and as your Prime Minister, we are going to do something about it that will last for generations to come. Jamaicans will have good roads to travel on. And let me tell you now about water. It's clear to me that every Jamaican is trying to make it on their own. There are some who are sitting down waiting on the government and quarreling and so forth, but you know, when I drive around, I see people building. They're building. They're like me. I'm a builder. I love to build. I like to take one block and put it on another, and another, and another. Some people don't like to see you building on them bad mind. But me come from Spanish Town, and the people in Spanish Town love to build. Them a build up them little things. But hear what happened now. Them can't bring road to them gates, and then can't bring water to them yard. It's government have to do that. Now, there are two ways to provide you with water. One is to develop what they call local water supply systems. The second way is to develop the utility supply, meaning NWC run pipe to your gate. NWC can't run pipe to every gate because you have some community way up in the hills and it's just far and expensive. But with local water supplies, you can create micro dams. They call a little entombment. They can put in the local water supply system, treatment and pumping. And you have a company that is designed to do that called Rural Water. And we are going to increase the budget, as we did in one of the years in our second term, where we increased the budget significantly to almost $1 billion and provide water to over 30,000 communities. We're going to increase that budget and start to develop the local water supply systems so that the communities that are in deep rural Jamaica can have reliable water supply that is not part of the utility system. The second strategy to deal with water now is that we have, since our administration, we have brought water to about 350,000 persons. But we estimate that there are about 900,000 Jamaicans who still have no water at all or who have intermittent and unreliable water supply. So for example, people who live in Tivoli Gardens, Olympic Gardens, South St. Andrew, sometimes they don't have no water at all. You turn the pipe and barely any water comes. Worse, when it comes to drought, no water in area, in parts of the corporate area. In St. James, no water. Now, how you treat with that? You need to have a massive source of water. And we have started to deal with that. In Mandeville, we have already going the greater Mandeville Water Supply Project. We are moving millions of gallons of water from St. Elizabeth up Spur Tree into Mandeville. We are going to expand that project in our second term so that all of Manchester can get water. We have broken ground for the Northwestern Water Supply Project, which will take water from the Martha Brae and the Roaring River. We will improve the main pipelines, and that will supply the corridor starting from Trelawney through to St. James into Hanover and as far as parts of the Grill, to ensure that all of that corridor is properly served with water. But we have another big project that we are working on. It's called the Pumped Hydro Storage Project, where we are going to take water from the sea in Clarendon. We're going to pump it up the hill using solar. We are going to desalinate and keep it stored at a high level. And then we're going to pump it down the hill. It's going to generate electricity and the fresh water for the plains of Clarendon and parts of South Manchester. And it could even go as far as parts of St. Catherine. That project is now being designed, and it will significantly help the water challenges that we have. But a project that is already under construction and will be completed next year is the Content Rio Cobre project, and you pointed to it, you know about it. 15 million gallons of water will be taken from the Rio Cobre, treated and pumped into parts of Spanish Town, Portmore, and Kingston. And that will make us more resilient to droughts. And so all of the communities along that corridor that suffer from intermittent water supply and low pressure, that will be a thing of the past. We are also looking at the Mahogany Vale project in the Blue Mountains to further bring water through to St. Thomas and into Kingston and St. Andrew. So when it comes to the big projects to transform the big things that affect you, it is this government that is making the change. It is this government that has the competence, that has the vision, that has the capability to make the change that is beneficial to you. I want to quickly talk about housing, because I know a lot of you are concerned about housing. Again, when the rum tell them they're a big dancer, they come with all kind of promises about how they're going to solve the housing problem. Listen to me carefully. There is no real challenge with financing housing in Jamaica. The big challenge is in supplying houses in Jamaica, building the house in Jamaica. 90% of the time, it's not a financial problem. Availability of land, availability of contractors, the approval and procurement process. Those are the things that have prevented Jamaica from rapidly building out the 150,000 houses that we need. So if you are in a tight market and you decide, all right, I'm going to give more money, what you do? And you don't increase the supply. What that does is increase the price of the house. So you have to be very careful with the policies that you make. Right now, we must be focused on increasing the number of houses that we build. In the last 5 years, we have focused on delivering 70,000 houses to the market. The NHT has in train already, which includes houses that they are built, houses that are in procurement, houses in construction, housing in design. They have 53,000 houses. We created Bernard Lodge. And if you go over Bernard Lodge there now, you see some beautiful houses being built. And we commit in our third term to another 60,000 houses. But I know young people have a concern about houses. How I can get a house? Well, the grant to get the house sounds good, but you have to ask yourself, who going to get the grant? If you give 2,000 out of about 40,000 young people who would want it, what criteria would they put in place to determine who get it? I can tell you, under the PMP is going to be friend and company who get it. So what we have to do now? Firstly, we are going to give incentives to the private sector under the urban tax relief, which will incorporate areas in Spanish Town, areas in Clarendon and Maypen, areas in Hanover, St. James and Trelawney, areas in St. Thomas, and of course there are several communities in Kingston, where if you build low-income houses, you will get a tax relief. And that is going to attract a whole heap of investment in low-income houses, in communities that are suffering from urban blight. And that is how you get more houses being built. We have decided that any housing scheme that the NHT sponsors or supports or develop, we will reserve 15% of those houses for young people. But we give another incentive. As a young person, if you buy your first house, and let's say 5 years after you outgrow it, you have a family and you have children and you need another room, what we are saying to you is that you must sell that house back to the NHT and we will give you access to a second benefit from the NHT so that you can upgrade the house that you bought before.
Shout, 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 shout.
So what we are trying to do now is to create a market for houses that are affordable. You buy those, you hold it for a little period of time, and then when you're ready to upgrade. So you get your studio, your one bedroom, and when you're ready to upgrade, you don't lose your NHT benefit, providing you sell that back to the NHT. Why? Because the NHT wants to take that unit and put it back at the market at a reasonable price for the next generation of young people to come and have access to the unit. And these are the kinds of solutions that we need. And you know why I have these solutions? I don't drink, I don't smoke, Nobody can turn me into no big dancer.
Talking the answer.
I am focused.
Talking the answer.
I am practical. I listen to the people. We study the problem. And so we come up with workable solutions that won't be a cost to you.
Holness tell you you's a big dancer. Come show them you's a big dancer. Bend down if you's a big dancer. Waistline cause you's a big dancer. Holness tell you you's a big dancer. Come show them you's a big dancer.
My dream, fellow Jamaicans, my dream is to see Jamaica peaceful. We must achieve peace, and I believe we can do it, and we are on our way to do it. So you will see even greater effort towards peace building in our next term. I believe we need first-class infrastructure. Our urban spaces, our roads and water, we are going to focus on that so that you have the ease of life. I believe the public services that you require, public transportation, garbage collection, healthcare, education, we are going to spend more resources on improving the delivery and quality of those services. But outside of that, I also believe that Jamaica will become the Singapore of the Western Hemisphere in terms of its economic growth and performance. When we took over, the GDP per capita was somewhere about 5,500. Today they say it's about 7,500. Barbados' GDP is somewhere like maybe 25, 29,000. Trinidad is about 20,500, somewhere thereabout. Jamaica needs to increase its productivity, increase its growth, and increase the income of the people. This administration, having stabilized the economy, having finely tuned the economy, is now going to press gas and accelerate the growth of the economy to ensure that you can achieve the vision of Jamaica being a prosperous, fair, and peaceful country. This election, my fellow Jamaicans, is a pivotal one in our history. We can decide to accept a promise, or you can decide to stick with performance and delivery. That's the choice. Promise, performance. I believe the choice is clear. On the 3rd of September, I ask you to make the choice in favor of Jamaica. I ask you to choose Jamaica. Choose the Jamaica Labour Party. Put your X beside the bell. Put your X beside the Jamaica Labour Party. Choose prosperity. Choose peace. Choose progress. God bless you. I love you. And I see you the night of the 3rd as we celebrate our victory for Jamaica. God bless you. Thank you. Traveling mercies as you go home.